1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Ground Up Podcast. My name is Matt Walton, here with my co-host Matt Huber. How you doing, Matt?
Fantastic, man. It's a beautiful day here.
I know you get to do these podcasts outside now. I'm jealous.
Yeah, I was having a meeting with one of our team members yesterday, and he's like, "Are you in the jungle right now?" And I was like, "No, it just looks like that. Just happens to be a large tree outside of this porch that I'm sitting on, but no, it's beautiful out here."
It's awesome. Great. We have another guest today, guys. We're excited about this. His name is Jyotin. How you doing today, Jyotin?
Doing well. Thank you for the invitation. Yeah, it's enjoying the summer. Absolutely.
Awesome. And where are you located, Jyotin?
I'm located in Boston, and we have actually very hot weather compared to what Boston generally has. So it's been nice.
Boston's probably one of my favorite bigger cities. Like I actually like Boston. I'm not a fan of New York as much, but Boston seems to be a place I like to be at. And if you wear anything Red Sox, you're good. Like you're good. Like you're in the know.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as you don't wear anything Yankees, you're good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, nobody wants to wear Yankees. I don't even know if Yankees fans want to wear Yankees.
Awesome. Well, Jyotin, tell us a little bit more about yourself. You were telling us before this. I want to go back through this. You run SecureFlow. That's where you developed and you brought that. You also do a lot of consulting, risk management, and helping people with cybersecurity. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah. So our focus is cybersecurity, starting with everything around risk. And the important thing for us is to develop consistency for companies and reduce complexity. What that means is that we want to understand individual companies' risk based on standards and compliance initiatives, and then structure a program for them based on their risk, as opposed to a kind of a vanilla approach where you do network security and you do this security and you do that, or you buy solutions without actually knowing what you're really trying to solve. So it's a very structured approach. It's business use case focused, and we are trying to reduce the overall complexity of security, because security tends to be something people run away from in a lot of cases because it's more of an insurance. Nobody wants to spend money on insurance unless they have to. That's our challenge always is help people understand what they need and make the product process more consistent.
So if they just download the McAfee security system, are they good?
Pretty
That's
much,
all I
yeah.
need.
So everybody, all they know about in security is, hey, antivirus.
Yep.
And generally, when I'm talking to somebody, they always ask me, hey, what do you use on your phone? What kind of malware do you use? Do you use a wallet? Do you use, to store your passwords? And so those are the conversations, because everything is individual. And I understand that. That's kind of, the nature of security.
Let me ask you this, Jyotin. Obviously, Matt and I, we run a small business. We have, at this point, almost 100 employees overall within our business. But when is it to a point, or the size of the company, the type of company, that they should really be exploring cybersecurity as a big thing they should look at investing in? Is there a point that you would look at as a consultant to say, now's the time, or maybe you're a little too early for you to consider that?
Yeah, good question, Matt. We generally go after a certain focused company where they have either a certain revenue or they've raised a certain amount of money. But in general, when you have a product that you want to sell to an enterprise, whether it be a hospital, healthcare entity, bank, manufacturing shop, construction company, whatever it is, where there is sensitive data involved. And sensitive data, I mean, it could be health data, it could be financial data, it could be anything identifying you as a person. There's lots of it. If you are going to do that, then you need cybersecurity. Prior to that, cybersecurity is more about your employees, your security, your IP, intellectual property. If you have a patent or things of that nature and you want to protect that, then cybersecurity makes sense. But generally, you need it when you're trying to sell to a larger enterprise, and especially if you're in the B2B business.
Gotcha. So it depends on industry too, right? So industry is kind of important depending on what type of data you're taking in or putting out.
Absolutely. Highly regulated industries like healthcare, financial services tend to focus on security more than industries that are not as regulated. For example, automotive sector, EVs. There's not that much regulation there. Blockchain, cryptocurrency, not as much regulation there. So they may not, but if the blockchain cryptocurrency company is now trying to sell into a bank or trying to sell into a hedge fund or a private equity, then yes, they will need security.
So would I be accurate to say that a company like yours, probably it's best for them to have certain niche industries that they do cybersecurity for, so that you're then most in tune with the limitations, restrictions, and the laws that might go into providing that level of cybersecurity? Or is it less important for that and you count on the company that you're then going to be protecting to have all of their own knowledge and you just learn from them what you need?
Yeah, so I think both can be true at the same time. So, for example, regulation and regulated industry, absolutely, you have to. There's no question about it. The other aspect of it is if I am a founder and I'm looking at security as a marketing tool and saying, I have the most secure platform or service, then I want security to be forefront of anything that I do, right? And if I want that company or person to trust me to say, hey, I am all about your privacy, I'm all about your security, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to make sure that your data is protected and not sold, and I'm doing this, that, the other. Apple is a good example, right? Apple is better than Android. Why? Because Apple controls its environment. And I use an Apple phone and everybody says, hey, Apple is more secure. Or if I use an Android phone, they're like, hey, I'm not sure about the apps that I'm downloading. So it's all about how you market yourself as well. So you could, in a B2C environment, be more about security. If security is your marketing kind of one of the leverages that you use to sell your service or product.
Which I think at one point was a really big thing. You know, people worried about their data and where it's going. I feel like it's kind of gone down a little bit. Maybe people are still worried about it, but it used to be really big. I want to ask you, like, if you go to a new website, am I supposed to click accept all cookies, or do I need to fight it a little bit?
Yeah. So like from a website perspective, right? It depends on whether you're downloading something or not. I mean, just visiting a website, maybe as long as you don't have to click accept all and accept this and accept that, there's nothing downloaded on your PC. And today, even though in cybersecurity, we look at servers and we look at data and we look at endpoints, which are laptops, desktops. But today, browsers are your desktop. So it's not only the desktop as far as a Windows machine or a Mac machine, it is all the browsers, right? You have Chrome, you have Firefox, you have hundreds of them. You have Brave, you have kind of Edge, Safari, all these. That's why use cases and specific requirements as to how you use your platforms and how you use your services, how you like an e-commerce company could be very different from somebody who's doing MarTech or like marketing technology company, right? Even though they're collecting data, they're doing analytics. So it varies. Yeah.
When you go into a client, when you go and meet a new client, what are some of the common mistakes you see companies making with their cybersecurity and their data?
Yeah. So look, what we say is, cybersecurity breaches happen not to networks, they happen to people. So networks don't get breached, people get breached. And the reason is the network itself is an entity that a person is configured. And misconfigurations are the number one cause of breaches. So whether it is misconfiguration of the cloud, your browser, your app, leaving APIs in there, APIs with poor tokens or security keys, leaving keys in there, public keys that are kind of expired keys. Those kinds of things cause issues. Sending all kinds of links, not checking them, not patching your application. So there are hundreds of things. It's all about people. It's your discipline. That's why it's all consistency and not complexity. You have to be consistent in security, not just like write a policy and hope everybody follows it, or write something and say, hey, take a look at it. This is what you should do. But you kind of have to practice it. You have to be kind of not only the preacher, but the person who shows everybody how to do it.
So the people who get in trouble are the ones that just don't, from what it sounds like to me, is just they don't keep their stuff clean and organized. They're just letting things just kind of go, and they're not paying attention to what they're doing. They're moving from the old, outdated stuff and just leaving it there. It just seems like they're just leaving. I don't want to say laziness. It's just they're not doing the process they need to fully to clean everything out.
Yeah, I mean it's like a playbook of a football team, right? So you run certain plays every time consistently, and you run them, no matter what, you run the same play. So the team knows the play. If you don't write down your policies, you don't write down your processes that everybody needs to follow, it might be a boring thing, but the fact is once it's written and somebody's trained it and they're trained over and over and over again, they know what to do. It becomes second nature. So cybersecurity is all about governance, and governance is all policy. So if you don't document stuff, you don't train people on documenting and knowing exactly what they need to do, unfortunately, they're going to do whatever they feel is the right thing based on their personal knowledge of what security is all about. And everybody's in a hybrid environment now, right? So everybody's working from home, working from the office a few days here and there. So it's not like I can control the network once somebody logs into my The network could be your home Comcast and Verizon, right? I mean, the network is not sitting in the office. So there is a lot of variability in the security that you use. And Wi-Fi's, and a lot of people sitting in Starbucks or a Tate or some cafe, right? And they're using public Wi-Fi. So security now suddenly is all about trying to protect you everywhere, all the time, airports, et cetera, or in the forest like Matt is sitting.
If you're in the forest or you're at a Starbucks and you're using a forest public Wi-Fi, is there measures that an individual can do and or an individual of a company can do to offer that higher level of security? It's like I know over the past maybe 5 years, VPNs have become a significantly larger topic. Is a VPN protect you on a public Wi-Fi, or that just offers the ability to display that you're in a place that you're not?
Both. So it definitely helps you from a security perspective. VPNs are good. It can tell you or show you where you are not. You kind of, you're kind of disguising your location. So VPNs do help. Public Wi-Fi is not a bad thing. You just need to put some level of controls over them. So multi-factor authentication, 2 factors in anything that you log into. VPNs are good. Some people use something called a physical, it's a YubiKey kind of a protection mechanism for your PC. It encrypts any data that's going in and out of your PC. So some people use those hardware devices. But yeah, those are good controls to have. Being aware where you are and what you're looking at is also a good thing to do. Not looking at your bank information sitting in a Starbucks or trying to trade is actually a good thing.
And I'm sure this is probably not true. And you were mentioned earlier about the different browsers. One of the reasons why I use Mac on my computer and not a Windows is because I've always assumed that if I have a Windows computer within 2 years, it'll get infected with some sort of virus. But Mac kind of doesn't have that same issue. Is there a browser that is better from a security perspective? I asked that question because Google Chrome makes it so easy to use them because the level of integrations they have, the plugins and those. But I also find that probably Safari is a more secure network because it's on the device that is a little bit better around security. Is there one that you should use or not use at today's world, or what do you think?
I know people, so I have used something like the browser called DuckDuckGo, right? So DuckDuckGo is a privacy browser and it's built for overall privacy. So it doesn't store any history. It has all these, by default, a lot of security mechanisms built in. All browsers in their settings have security capability, all of them, right? Similar ones. The problem is by default, they don't. Most people use browsers by default, however they're built. Safari tends to be good, but problem is like a Chrome and Firefox or Edge, there are probably more platforms that are tested and work on those platforms just because of the nature of volume that people tend to use those. So it's easier to use those. Safari, yes, it is good. It has better default security mechanisms built in, but it's all about default. So if you go into the settings, you can make your browser more secure. You can go in physically and do that. And then you can also put in other mechanisms. So now they have antivirus for browsers, not only for your PC, right? So you can download an antivirus for your browser and scan anything that you're either looking at, downloading, etc. files.
So you mentioned that there's a private browser. The incognito browser, that's all bullshit, right?
That's just to show that you're,
It doesn't store your history, but it doesn't remove your data from Apple. Google will still see in those private browsers inside of Chrome or inside of that, all of that data is still being shared with those companies. It's just not being stored within your own database, right?
Yeah, it's basically to protect you. So what people are trying to do, use incognito is, I have history in the browser. So if I go in incognito, that history doesn't show. So it'll show me like I'm a new user, essentially, as opposed to anything to do with the data. I mean, the data is still there. They're basically hiding history. So they don't want anybody to see what they're looking at.
Yeah, you just scared a bunch of people.
You'll find what you're looking at, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all those people that use incognito to look up how to make a bomb or something like that are now terrified. What you just said. They thought they were good.
You want to go on the dark web and you're trying to do incognito. But the fact of the matter is, people can still tell.
You're on the FBI watch list. Watch out.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I thought it was good. So I'm curious to know how you got into cybersecurity. What was your background before this? What made you go into cybersecurity in the first place?
After college, I had done both technology programming stuff and business, and had done an MBA, etc. But I started with a company which was based out of Israel, off the Israeli Air Force, and their whole focus was in the cybersecurity space, even though their focus was more in the mainframe and storing data across open systems and mainframe. But then they developed an identity and access management solution. And so that's where I really got into security, with traveling between Tel Aviv and here and learning a lot about security from that particular entity company, which eventually got sold to BMC Software. And then after that, I was, in various aspects of security, whether it be product or consulting, working with Deloitte, working with IBM, working with others, before I started something on my own.
How's being an entrepreneur now?
It's been a great journey, but it's definitely been challenging. You kind of get to do your own SWOT analysis as such. You kind of know what your strengths, weaknesses, opportunity, threats are as such. You feel like when you're part of a team, you have a brand name behind you. It's easy, everything kind of goes, and you have a job, you get a paycheck. Here you have to go hunt, and you have to go find business, and you have to kind of fit things, which may sometimes otherwise not fit. You have to educate people, which can be challenging. You have to do your own accounting. So there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done, and you realize how much you can and cannot do, what you're good at and what you're not. But it's been a great journey overall. I mean, I'm still here, as opposed to going back to work and working for someone. As I stayed in cybersecurity, I could always go back to the industry. But yeah.
So it's funny you say that. So you kind of go into our realm and kind of my realm in regards to what we do when you say, hey, when we go to the entrepreneur journey, even though I have all this experience in cybersecurity, now I'm running my own business. There's a lot of those different things that maybe I've never had to focus on in being a consultant and being in a person who runs a cybersecurity for a business. Now I have to do sales. So my background over 15 years of building, running sales teams, and a lot of what Matt and I do is we actually provide sales services and solutions to business owners, entrepreneurs, sometimes as a support to their current structure. And a lot of times I come in, teach that entrepreneur how to sell, and then build a sales team for them. Talk with us a little bit about your sales process right now. Is it all you? Do you have a team? Are you bringing somebody in who is running the sales team? How does the sales process work for you today?
Yeah, we don't have a sales team, to answer the question. We have more of a sales process, which is more driven through the marketing process and through a pipeline process as such. I tend to be the person both selling and, in some cases, delivering or not. But we do a lot of the stuff that everybody else does: email marketing, blogging, newsletter, technology tools, others like Apollo and CRM, HubSpot, and this, that, the other, to both collect information, learn about our clients, send information, share data on our website, do FAQs, do podcasts, things of that nature, to both get introduced. I'm also part of the Vistage, which I recently joined, a trusted advisor group, which is a network. Also run my own a virtual C-level kind of a networking group in Boston. So all those things are my sales tools.
The organic network. I mean, to me, the organic network is always going to be the most dynamic and most fruitful aspect. I would say in the first 3 years of me running my sales organization as a business owner, 85 to 90% of all of the business I obtained was through my network, friends, references, just my reputation and those things. Only over the past 6 months have Matt and I put some new outsource methods in, which is my whole background. What I provide to companies is outsource message. We have cold calling techniques. Now we have marketing approaches. We've just started doing actual marketing ads as well. All of these things that I do for companies, we didn't even do for our own business. Just didn't have the time and bandwidth to do it in that sense. From those outside of the references, the referrals, and those things, what is working the best, and what do you wish worked better right now for your business?
So outside of those things, I would say what works the best for us is kind of working through, again, a network of people we have on LinkedIn, participating in podcasts, webinars, other things. What I wish would work better would be an automated process from a pipeline perspective where I not only knew from LinkedIn, I got meetings, but also got meetings through some of our email marketing efforts, some of our website efforts. We've kind of created a chat bot for people to go there and ask questions and get more information. We are also putting together, we had one for free website scans for people to kind of score their own website and application. We are trying to do that again, integrating it within our website. So I wish those things would work more than they do for us. But I realize in our business, and every business is different, but I realize in our business, cybersecurity is about trust. A lot of businesses are about trust.
Yeah.
It takes a while for somebody to trust you, right? So if somebody who knows you, it's different, like friends, family, network, people you worked with, et cetera, et cetera. Somebody who does not know you, it's going to take them some time. And that process, in some cases, is longer than we like, but we still have to be consistently working with those people, chasing them in a way, kind of sending them information, asking them out, lunch,
Yeah, for
Red Sox
sure.
games, whatever it is.
You gotta play that game for sure, right?
Yeah.
Now let me ask you this, Jyotin, and there's no wrong answer here, but I'm interested to find this out. One of the things that I would say majority of the entrepreneurs I talk to are the exact same story you just mentioned. You're the seller and the deliverer. Now, a lot of people don't necessarily have a comfort in selling and or even really want to sell and like to sell, but they do it because they're the knowledge expert. They're the best person to be able to speak passionately about their business. 5 years from now, as you continue to scale your business, do you still want to be the face of the sales side, or you want to run the business, not be the face of the sales side?
No, like I mentioned, the SWOT analysis, right? I realize I'm not a salesperson. That's not me. So I can do the operation side. I can do the delivery side. We did hire sales help. Well, not sales help, but like the marketing sales, like inside sales, calling people, et cetera, et cetera. But it was very disjointed. We also, in my group, I have a sales acceleration guy who does this whole virtual sales thing. And he's been talking to me about doing X, Y, and Z. The people that I hired, because they had a cookie cutter approach, security is a little different, and every business says they're a little different. It takes some time to understand what we're trying to do and get there. So it ends up being me selling anyways. So I'm like, just take it and sell. I mean, use the time. But yeah, I mean, if you ask me 5 years down the road, would I prefer to have a salesperson? Absolutely. Would I prefer to, expand? Because we can sell much more. We do partner with companies. We do a lot more where we can sell much more. We can get in different ways to companies. But then in 5 years from now with AI, what am I going to be selling is also going to be very different. So we'll see what that is, right? So
yeah, I want to get into that, but I want to ask you real quick. It's interesting to know because we run the Ground Up podcast in general is for us to learn about entrepreneurs because we're entrepreneurs ourselves, and I think it's interesting to hear what you say about that because a lot of people think that, all right, I'm gonna start my own business, I'm gonna make a lot of money, it's gonna be easier because I don't have to work for somebody has to tell me what to do. What you said hits the nail on the head. People don't realize that you go and you work for a company, everything else is already built out around you. You just got to worry about your spot. And now you come to an entrepreneur and you're like, I have to take care of everything that was typically built out for me. And now things that I have no idea what to do. It's a lot of learning. And so I want to know, like, what are some of the things that when you're in this entrepreneurial journey that you're doing that you ran into that was like, I don't want to say mistakes, because probably we made a lot of mistakes as we're doing, but mistakes you made that you feel like that if you did it again, you wouldn't do this time.
Yeah, I mean, I think from a reflection perspective, I would have built out capabilities which are easier to understand, more packaged delivery models, as opposed to just pure consulting models where we were like, we're doing cybersecurity and we can staff aug and do this, that, the other. But in the SMB space, people like something more like, I'm doing pen testing for an application and it provides XYZ and that's the cost. I'm doing virtual CISO services, it includes XYZ and that's the cost.
Yeah. So like less custom stuff where you had to kind of
Custom
get on
stuff.
a package that you buy
Yeah.
into.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, system's scalable, right? The
Yeah.
custom is hard to scale when you're customizing everything. Matt and I made the exact same mistake in regards to when we were offering staffing or consulting services to our clients. We were doing a custom aspect for every single person, and we had to remember all the different custom rules of everything that we had agreed to. And then when we packaged it up, we kind of put things in there that made it a system. Once we created the system, it was scalable.
Yeah, and it's easier to sell. So if I were to go back, I would, definitely do that. Probably, focus more on the sales marketing perspective early on in the cycle rather than later. Because initially I relied heavily on the network, my own network. And so that was a mistake. The other piece is put people in place, like rather than trying to deliver and sell, put a delivery person responsible, put a salesperson responsible, put somebody else responsible so that everything is not dependent on me as a person, because that company then can't scale.
Yeah.
That's this is the thing that Matt and I talk about all the time. And Matt, I'd love to hear your perspective on this part here. One of the things that I'm hearing you say, but you haven't said it, but it is 100% true, which is nobody's going to care about your business as much as you are going to care about your business. And that's one of the things that I think that Matt and I had to learn about being entrepreneurs is we had to learn every side of the business. And my side is sales. Matt has an expertise in sales, but in other things too. And as we brought in people that even had those gaps that we filled, we still had to learn those things because they're never going to care about our business as much as we did. Matt, I can imagine that was one of the biggest things that was hard for you to wrap your head around as well as we scaled, which is, can we bring in experts, but are they going to care as much as you do?
Yeah, I talk about this probably on every podcast we've been on because I love this book. I don't know if you've read it, Jyotin, called Who Not How.
Yeah.
You have, yeah. So that book, I was lucky enough to read that book when I first started with the wholesaling, when I built the business over there. And I listened to a lot of people in the podcast, and one person who said all the time, Gary Vaynerchuk, as we know, used to say, like, you should never expect any. One of the problems that happens is a lot of CEOs or entrepreneurs, they go in and expect people to do the exact same amount of work and work as hard as them and as many hours as them, and they hire people and they think that, then they get all disappointed when it doesn't happen. It's not going to happen. And he was like, you got to expect people, like, if somebody hits 80% of what you do, you're good. Like, that's a great employee, but you can't expect someone to have the same level as you. So I was lucky enough, I felt like, to have read that book, to have heard that information before we jumped into. So I never expected anybody to work as hard as us. So for us, I think for me, it's a little bit different, but yes, you start to see and really have to hone in on the people that are really putting in the extra work and things that you not have to tell them, hey, this is what you have to do every step of the way. They figure things out and they learn the problems. And one of the things we talk about all the time, Matt, is we don't want people who can just identify problems. Anybody can say, that doesn't work, that doesn't work, that doesn't work. We want to find people who say, this isn't working, here's what I came up with. And it might not be even necessarily a great idea or something that works or we agree with, but if you're taking that initiative, you show somebody that's actually interested in what you're doing and how to build that. So is that something you feel like when you're hiring here, Jyotin, are you seeing the same thing?
Yeah, I've learned the hard way. So, hired people, thought they would, do X, Y, Z and then be innovative. And a lot of them weren't. And a lot of them, because we are a hybrid organization, a lot of them, rather than doing more, would do less just because nobody's watching. And they would report things that were not really happening. So through all this, we've learned of people who are worth keeping for a longer period, who are those people who are actually finding solutions rather than finding problems. So yeah, it's definitely a journey in terms of another aspect of the business is hiring the right people. Hiring good talent. It's not an easy thing to do, right? So there are a lot of people apply, and everybody's looking out for themselves. They're looking for their resume, proving their resume, looking for a job, looking for a salary, pay their bills. But that doesn't mean that they have anything to do with your company, because the day they learn something and their resume looks good, they're going to jump to another company that pays them better, right? So
Yeah, we were on a sales call right before this with somebody, and he said the same thing. And a lot of people in my business, for what I do is I do a wholesaling company, a real estate wholesaling company. So we find a bunch of deals and sell them off to investors. Most of the people that, especially Americans here, that join in and learn this industry, they want to be entrepreneurs. So if you hire somebody within my company that's really good, they're not going to be there long because they want to do it on their own. They're getting a cut of what you're getting, and now they want the whole thing. And so, yeah, what you're saying is basically right. Yeah, they're building their resume, they're building the skills, and then they're out. And that's tough to do that.
yeah, because you rely on those people and they get good, and then they're gone.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you have to replace, and replacement is not easy.
No, No, it's not.
So Matt and I are also very interested in part of our entrepreneur journey is we're continue to try to look it down the road and evolve in this process. And I know one of the things that we quickly spoke about where a lot of the questions are coming your way is around the cybersecurity side of AI. Matt and I are learning a lot more about AI right now. So maybe the first question I would love to ask you and get your perspective on what are the common mistakes somebody who's wanting to get into AI don't think well enough about in how they need to either protect themselves in building an AI platform or a tool or a service or a company, and then also how they don't protect their customers well enough from a cybersecurity perspective around the growth and development of AI.
Yeah, good question. I mean, AI, as you guys know, came from or started with machine learning and then grew to AI, and now it's a Gen AI, and it's going to get more, augmented AI, real AI as such. AI is all about data. So you are collecting a lot of data, whether it's for behavior, for information about your buyers, sellers, whatever it is. In the automation of AI, there are lots of issues that come into play for people who are doing AI. It's all about how much data, sensitive data from a security perspective you're collecting. When you're developing a solution, how well are you testing the solution before it comes out? Because it is getting automated. So you're automating a process. So you're taking out the human element from it in some cases, in a lot of cases. And when the human element is out, you are taking away the checks and balances in that system. If you don't test that application or that process or that automation piece well, that's one problem. The second problem is how that automation then takes action. If that action taking process doesn't have good identity and access management or the front end authentication built into it, the wrong person can take the action for somebody else and it can lead to a problem. And generally what happens in these applications is if I take over and identify myself as you, and I can do that now with voice AI, image AI, and other capabilities that I can literally take over. And a good example, in fact, is, I think there was a test done by OpenAI where they developed an AI tool with voice AI capability, and I think they did a demo. I don't think this was real, but basically there was a company, they asked the controller to have a call on Microsoft Teams. And it was done on Teams. And the CEO and CFO showed up. Nobody put their camera on. And the CEO, CFO, and the controller had this discussion. And they told the controller to transfer X amount of money to a company because the deal was going down. It was over the weekend. They had to do this, that. Sure enough, he does transfer the money. And they show how that was all voice AI. There was no CEO. There was no CFO. The controller was real, and he transferred the money without checking who the person was. Unfortunately, he has no tools to check who the person is. It was Microsoft Teams. It was their company. And that can easily happen with AI now. So now how do you authenticate the user? So there are so many checks and balances that are missing in that process. And that requires tools and that requires capability. But going back to your question about...
But before you go to that, because I want to double click on that, because Matt and I are developing a voice AI product right now to offer as an ancillary product to us. And then our team decided without my consent, that's fine. But without my consent, they went and pulled a couple of my podcasts, and then they sent me a voice AI of me talking in a sales environment of things I never said and never did, but it was my voice and it sounded just like me. It was indistinguishable to me. And so I'm fully aware of where that happens. It prompted a conversation within my wife and myself and our family that we need to have kind of like passwords and security codes within ourselves, like kind of like our own secret word that distinguishes this is you. Is this you? Is there any other measures or things that you would suggest that the general public should do just to protect their family? I mean, we can get into how to protect the business side, protect their family from something like this. And I ask that question because what you just mentioned is a big issue maybe on the business side, but I also think of like my grandfather a couple of years ago where they could have me calling and me saying, hey, I'm in this jail here. I need you to send this money. And my grandfather hears my voice, has no recollection that it could not be me. And then he transfers money in this scenario. What would you suggest the person to do? And then maybe a suggestion on the business side.
Yeah, for a person, it's similar to what we have from a two-factor authentication behavior side. You have to figure out questions you would ask the person.
Something they wouldn't know. Like ask me something that only I would know. Like that kind of question.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Or like, hey, if you know the person eats Chick-fil-A, hey, what did you pick up Chick-fil-A yesterday? What did
Right.
you have?
Right.
And automatically you know that that person, if they ordered something that they generally don't order, then you ask something other, which is very different. So basically you're checking from a behavior perspective, is this the person
Right.
he or she is saying they are? You can have a word, a passcode, definitely. Sometimes when somebody's nervous, they'll forget the passcode. So they may not remember the passcode. They'll tell you the wrong thing. I think the best thing is to kind of figure out, your family from a personal perspective, or your grandfather. You ask the questions which you know that only they would do. They may have something in their house, that cupboard on the left. Did you open that? What was it that I've left something there? What was that? And what's in that cupboard? You would know. And the other person, unless they're broken into your house, they're not going to know that exists. So basically authenticate the person
Got it.
or authenticate the voice or whatever it is.
And I
But
would assume that the business side would have some sort of business authentication that would be maybe an ever evolving answer and change, because you can't just set it once and go. You've got to probably evolve that and adjust it frequently, correct?
that is correct. Yeah. So in the business side, there are authentication tools for voice and image that are being developed. So yeah, they will be there in regards to for the business. But for the human side, yeah.
Yeah,
I
makes
mean,
sense.
in fact, in our chamber locally here in one of the towns, actually, the police department had come to give a talk, and they were talking about exactly this, mostly to bank tellers in the town. We were having it at the bank tellers, to tell them, to alert them if some older people come to ask for a large withdrawal,
Right.
which they generally don't, or ask where to get gift cards, which they generally don't, because gift cards is another way that these
Lack
guys
of
are
tracking,
asking for
right?
money.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, unfortunately it's happening.
Mhm.
These overall scamming using voice.
Unfortunately. So I kind of cut you off as you were making an evolution to a second point. Do you remember what you were saying before I cut you off and diverted you? No.
Not
Okay. It was probably going to be the most amazing thing you're going to say, but I cut you off to get that other part. But I thought that was important. Yeah, I'm both scared of what AI can do, but I'm more excited around what AI can do in the future. I think that everything can be used for good, it can be used for bad, and there's going to be bad actors, but then there's going to be a lot of great actors. What is your perspective on AI just from the seat you sit in every day?
Yeah, I mean, it's twofold. I agree. AI will be able to do a lot and improve things a lot. I see what the media is saying about, people losing jobs and replacements, etc. That may happen, but we'll be able to do much more with less, and we'll be able to evolve things, find things, learn from things much more than before. It is also from a security perspective an opportunity, because AI will bring in more security threats. Naturally. And so that will definitely, one, change security, but it also will bring more opportunities in security, because AI is being used as much by the hackers as it is, or in fact, in some cases more, than it is even in industry at the moment. But it's going to evolve.
How do you keep up with the different techniques that happen? Like, 'cause I'm sure like hackers evolve, like you said, they find different ways to do things. And I mean, how do you keep up with those trends of what they're doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's more education, right? So there are journals like the NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology, always publishes a lot of information around standards as well as what's evolving. OWASP is another standard around vulnerabilities that are evolving, the top 10 vulnerabilities in risk. Gartner publishes papers, Verizon DBIR publishes an annual report around cybersecurity. So there are multiple Krebs on security. There are multiple ways to learn. I also do go through some of these courses that the universities offer to kind of, upskill myself as to what's happening, as well as what skills are evolving from an AI perspective. Because it's not only going to be AI, there's going to be quantum computing, which will accelerate AI, because we'll have much faster computers. So there'll be quantum computing with AI, and then there's blockchain. And then there's Web3, which is
Yeah.
going to be more enhanced web capabilities. So you'll have much more e-commerce and stuff. So Yeah, it's an evolving landscape, and there's going to be a lot more of everything that we do is going to change in every aspect of living, which is in a way it's exciting.
That's also scary. Yeah.
It is also scary because you have to learn. So it's not only like I have to learn AI, but like a construction guy has to learn, construction techniques are changing,
Correct. Yeah.
automobiles are changing, just your general bank, you're doing how you travel, banking, your cars, everything is changing, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think like with your parents, for example, when you started using the phone, they don't understand the phone. Like, how could you not be up to date with technology? You got to stick up with everything. Now, what you just talked about, how many things you just said is going to happen. It's like in 10 years from now, when my kids are older, or in 20 years when they're doing stuff, like I can see myself being like that, even though I don't want to be, out of it. Like you said, there has to be a lot of education. You got to stay up with it because it is, like you said, exciting, but also a little scary at the same time about what people get into and what they can find out how to use it for bad.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely. And social media is one of those areas where you get a lot of information, but then you get a lot of information for bad as well.
I think it just evolves the need for somebody that people like and they trust for cybersecurity and everything that you do, Jyotin. So I think it's an opportunity for somebody like you to be able to continue to grow and use that. We're hitting the end of our time here. So what I would love to do is when somebody needs your help in the business side of the world, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you if they want to find out more about what you can do?
Sure, absolutely. Jyotin Gambhir, phone number for our business, SecureFlow is 781-819-4235. Our website is SecureFlow, SECUREFLO.net. There is no W, so it's SECUREFLO.net. You can always, there are multiple ways to reach us there. There's LinkedIn where we have a presence. We also do have presence on other social media sites, including X and Instagram. So there are multiple ways to reach us. All you have to do is actually just search for us on any browser.
Yeah,
And
we'll link all your stuff in this episode as well. And up until the episode and after, we'll be coming out with quite a few clips as well. So if people want to find you, now they know how to get in touch with you. Before we go, Jyotin, any final words you want to say?
no, I wanted to just thank you guys for the opportunity. And it was a great opportunity to speak about not only cybersecurity, but in general, what everybody's concerned about, talking about. So thank you.
Thank you.
Gotcha. Thank you, everyone, for checking out our podcast. Thank you again, Jyotin, for being here. If you guys got any information out of this that you liked, please like, subscribe, comment, share, hit the bell icon for our alerts. We drop podcasts every single Friday. We have a bunch of clips on our Instagram and our LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, everywhere. Same thing for Jyotin. Please follow him. Learn more about cybersecurity. If you got to reach out, it's an ever-changing industry where you got to keep up with it. And so, again, thank you so much for your time, Jyotin.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Matt.
1, 2,